Very dear friend of mine, John Sedra, joining us tonight. Thank you so much for coming and joining me right now from Australia.
Good to be with you. It is an honor to be with you. Thank you for having me, Nathan.
Now, John, real quick, why would somebody want to listen to this conversation?
Well, if you live in any Western country, if you live in the West, if you live in America, if you live in Australia, if you live in Europe, and you love the fruit of the West, you love the prosperity, you love the blessing that you have in the West, the truth is this is all at stake right now. And the once great Christian nations that were safe to live in, they are not what they used to be, and they are at risk. And there is an enemy that wants to take over Australia, America, and the Western civilization. They want to take God out of it. They want to take Jesus out of it. They want to take Christ out of it. And this will not just affect your life, but this will affect your children, your grandchildren, and the generations to come forever. So I come from a Muslim country. I come from Egypt. My family were born in a Muslim country. We're Christians. We're Coptic Christians. And people usually think when you say Middle East, they think Islam. The Middle East is Muslim. But little do they know is that the Middle East was actually where Christianity started. Believe it or not, Christianity is not a European thing. Wow. People think, the white Christian nationalist Christianity, European thing. It's not. Christianity is a Middle Eastern religion. It started in the Middle East. It's a Jewish religion, and it started in Israel. And geographically, from a logical point of view, what happened is that the disciples, they started preaching the gospel in Jerusalem, in Israel, and they made their way across, or Jesus said, go out into all the world, preach the gospel. So you had Peter, he preached in Rome. Peter preached in, other places. Andrew preaching Greece. You had Thomas, he preached in India. You had Mark preach in Egypt. That's where Egypt became a Christian nation eventually. And you had to decide, and basically around for 300 years, obviously Christians getting persecuted by the Romans until Constantine makes it legal to become Christian and to not get killed for being a Christian. Eventually, the Roman Empire becomes Christian, and the Middle East, across that 300 years, becomes a Christian region. So Egypt, where I'm from, was 90% Christian, over 90% Christian, until Islam jumps on the market. 600 AD, a man by the name of Muhammad, he claims to have received a vision from an angel and gave him a new revelation. And I don't know if you want me to keep going that direction in terms of history, or if you want me to go cultural. What do
No,
you
this is
think?
great. I was gonna ask what was it like growing up in Egypt?
Yeah, I can go. I can go from that backwards, or we can. Make the Islamization of Egypt section
You
up
just
to
go,
you.
bro. We'll get
Just,
you.
okay,
Just keep
just
going.
go for it. Easy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Muhammad, this man, he's in Arabia. It's a pagan nation. There are a bunch of tribes. There is no nation. What this man does is that he says, "I'm the final prophet of Allah," and he preaches for 12 years peacefully. By the way, all this history I'm saying, these are by Islamic sources. I'm not making up. So it's Islamic Arabic sources, and they all agree with that. So he preaches peacefully for 12 years, and he manages to convert only 100 people within the first 12 years of his preaching. And what happens is that after these 12 years, they were not very successful. Muhammad, he changes his strategy from peaceful preaching to military raiding. And that's one of the biggest difference between Christianity and Islam. Christianity spread by the blood of the martyrs, while Islam spread by the blood of its enemies. Christianity spread by persecution of Christians, and the more they persecuted us, the more we grew. Islam is the other way around. Islam is spread by the sword. It's spread by military conquest. People always try to say, Israel, they taking land from people that colonizes. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? Have you looked at a map? If you look at a map, how many Muslim countries are there? There's over 50 Muslim countries. How many Jewish states are there? One. And it's that big, tiny on a map. And you're telling me they're the colonizers? I'm like, dude, have you even read your history? And a lot of the problem we have in the West today is that people don't know their history. The universities, they're teaching post-colonial Western woke history. They're teaching you everything from their godless perspective, and the aim of their what they're teaching is to tell you that Europe is bad, the West is bad, Christianity is evil, and Islam is a religion of peace. But if you read your history, that is the opposite of what happened. Egypt, it was conquered by the sword. How did Islam get to Egypt? The sword. Conquest, military conquest. The whole of the let me run you through a lot of the churches that got conquered by Islam. I have a list here. So Jerusalem, Antioch, Alexandria, Constantinople, and Islam spread, conquering all of the Middle East, starting from Saudi Arabia, because that's where Islam started. And fact is that within 100 years of Muhammad's death, Islam had conquered 75% of the Christian world at the time. And yeah, so people saying, Europe is where Christianity is at. No, Europe is the 25% that was left and made it and did not get conquered by Islam. That's why Europe is Christian today. But Europe was not actually the original Christians. The original Christians started from the Middle East.
That's really a good point you said, that in the West, we've forgotten our history. I mean, one way that easily manipulate and change the narrative, you hear the saying, right? Tell a lie long enough and loud enough, and
Yeah.
it changes the truth.
That's right.
And so what I think is so pivotal in this time is that we who are of the light, of the truth, and know it, continue to share these truths as much as we can, all on our social media. And that's why we're encouraging you also that are watching by this to share it with your friends and family. Why? Because the truth is trying to be altered. History is trying to be changed. But John, maybe take me back. So you were sharing you come from an Egyptian background.
Yeah. So in Egypt, where I was born, you're not allowed to preach the gospel outside the four walls of the church. My dad was a pastor, and he was under threat by both the Islamic government of Egypt, which, they would tell you it's moderate Islam. He was under threat by them, and he was also under threat by the Islamic extremists of Egypt, which is Muslim Brotherhood. They wanted to kill him. They made a plan, kidnap me and my brother, and behead us. And God, by his grace, he has saved us. He has miraculously saved us from there. And we came to Australia as refugees in 2007, and we started a church 2017. And what I'm seeing is that the Islamic nation that I escaped from is coming to Australia. I came to Australia for religious freedom. I came to a Christian nation that honors God and has freedom of religion, freedom of speech. But we're seeing that come to America. We're seeing that come to London. And you're seeing that come to Australia. It's not safe anymore. We saw it with the attack on the Jewish community in Bondi last Sunday. The Jewish people cannot worship their God safely in the West anymore. You would think that would happen in Iraq. You would think that would happen in Egypt. But now it is no longer just happening in the Middle East Muslim countries. It is now happening in London, in America, in Australia, and across Europe.
I want to, you touched on Bondi Beach, and we want to come back to that. I want to get a little information just so that everyone can understand the climate of what Australia currently is, because you said you saw a dramatic change in the land that you love, the place that you call home after you had to leave Egypt. So what was it like maybe pre-October 7th, 2023? Were you starting to see a rise in anti-Semitism at all?
100%. After October 7th, we had hundreds and thousands of Muslims in the city near the Harbour Bridge, near the Opera House. They were chanting, "Gas the Jews." They were chanting, "Gas the Jews." And what did the police do? Nothing. What did the media do? Nothing. In fact, there was one Jewish protester there holding an Israeli flag, and guess who the police arrested? The Jewish guy. Why? For his own safety. And they left the hundreds and the thousands of people screaming, gas the Jews. And then they went on the news and they said they're not saying gas the Jews. They're saying where are the Jews. So you're seeing the narrative, and it's happening all over Australia. Australia is slowly becoming Islamized. And as we know, Islam is not a religion of peace. You can look at that from a theological POV. I can read the Quran. We know their verses, and what they're doing is not just a radical Islam thing. This is the core of their religion. This is how their religion spread. And just because there are some Muslims that don't do those things, it doesn't mean this is not what Islam teaches. My favorite Muslims are always the ones that don't follow their religion, because the jihadists that are killing the Jews, raping the Jews on October 7th, they're actually the ones following the Islamic book. Believe it or not, they're not the radical ones. They're the ones following. This is what the Quran teaches them to do, and this is a theological issue, and it has been happening for thousands of years. And that's why I wanted to give you a bit of the history at the beginning, because this is not new. This is not something that just popped up after October 7th. This has been happening for thousands of years since Muhammad. This is what the Prophet has done. This is how Islam spread, and this is how it's been happening. It happened, they killed the Christians in Egypt, they raped their women, and they Islamized the nation, and they have been doing it for thousands of years. So when October 7th happened, I'm not surprised. People, I'm not surprised. What else do you expect from the Islamic religion? This is what you get. Their book says it to do it. They tell you this is what we're here to do. We're here to take the West. We're here to take over and make it Muslim. And we still don't believe them. We still think it's a joke.
Do you think that a lot of people in the West have a feeling like if we can just all have a certain level of tolerance, that all cultures can somehow dwell together? But with what you're sharing, the true identity of what Islam is and what it means, which is submission, how can a Western culture that loves life be alongside a culture that breathes and speaks death?
It's incompatible. Islam is just simply incompatible with the West. Islam loves death. The West loves life. Jesus gave his life for his enemies. Muhammad took the life of his enemies. So you cannot compare Jesus to Muhammad. Our ultimate example is Jesus, who died for the sake of humanity. Jesus raised the dead. He raised Lazarus, and he raised the dead. Muhammad, he killed the living. Jesus was not a sexually perverted man. Muhammad was a sexually perverted man. He had 9 wives. He married a 6-year-old, had sex with her when she was 9. And Muhammad, he made 89 military raids per year. He raided villages and nations, and when they raid, they kill people, they plunder their goods, and also they rape their women, and they take them as sex slaves. So Muhammad had sex slaves. So he is not a prophet. He's a false prophet. And when what they're doing, these, you want to call them radical Muslim, they are simply following the example of their prophet. And Islam is not compatible with the West. It does not belong here. And importing millions of Muslims into Western countries will destroy your civilization, especially when the West has abandoned their God, the God of their ancestors. The West has abandoned their God. They're not having kids. They're aborting their babies. They're killing their babies. Muslims, they can have 4 wives. Muhammad says to them, you can have 4 wives. And they are having all these kids and babies. And if you just do the simple math, give it 20 years, give it 50 years, and the Western civilization will be wiped out and will be replaced by Islamic. And that's simply because they are not having babies. They're killing their babies, while the Muslims are coming there and having a lot of babies. So
what if you're seeing, or what you were saying earlier is that you were seeing a rise in anti-Semitism? Is it coming from a predominant culture? Is it, what would you say?
It's coming from the Muslims. It's really simple. It's like, I'm not going to sugar. I'm not
like a native Australian.
They tolerate it. So what happens is that what's happening is the more you abandon God, the more you abandon Jesus as a nation, your discernment is low, and you start to not see the difference between good and evil, right? And I was always telling, when I was in Israel with you a few months ago, I was always telling my Jewish friends there, your best friend, your best bet, people that love you and support you and that can see the difference between good and evil are Christians. If the West loses Christianity, they will become anti-Israel. It's really that simple. Because when you leave God, you cannot tell the difference between good and evil. You're easily deceived. You don't have discernment. And they call good evil and evil good. And Jesus says, woe to you who call good evil and evil good. And we're living in a generation where we have videos of women getting kidnapped, babies getting burnt, women getting raped on October 7th, and people cannot see the moral difference between that and between Hamas. So we're living in a very dark time, and the moral condition of the Western civilization is catastrophic. And they are the ones tolerating that. They're the ones allowing it. And the root, obviously the answer, there are political implications to the answer, which is immigration. But the root issue, if we're going to get to the root issue, is abandoning Jesus, abandoning Christ, abandoning the Bible, and therefore losing your moral compass.
That's a really good point. When you walk away from the Lord, when you turn away from the biblical truths,
that's right,
everything can be accepted, right? And then
that's right.
all of a sudden you start allowing just a little bit happen. It's not a fast boiling of the frog, right?
That's right.
It's slow, incrementally turning up the heat. And what I'm seeing with what you're sharing is October 7th was kind of like a spark. When Hamas came into Israel and did what they did, horrific, committing genocide,
yeah.
And the nations pretty much stood in silence. I mean, there was a moment of this is really bad. And I remember having a conversation with my dad, like, the world's narrative is going to shift. And it's going to be Israel is being bad. Why? Because they're going to root out the evilness of what just came after them. And it was just an amazing shift that you would see in the media. So
I was shocked by the response from the world, because they've got all the feminists, women's lives matter, we love LGBTQ, that we're lefty, we're anti-God, we love all this stuff, yet they're pro-Islam at the same time, which is kind of ironic. Islam is not pro-women. Islam is anti-women. A man is allowed to have 4 wives. A man is allowed to beat their wives. Women are basically slaves to their husband and second-class citizen. And for some reason, the feminists are not angry about that. They're not angry that Jewish women got raped. They're not angry that in Muslim countries, you go to jail or get killed for being gay. They're not angry about that. But they say Islam is a religion of peace and Christianity is a religion of hate. So they're hypocrites.
yeah, it's an interesting time that we live in for sure. You touched on it perfectly earlier. You said, "Woe to you." This is from the Bible, right?
That's
The
right,
Lord is
Jesus
saying,
speaking.
Woe to those who call good evil and evil good, and we are in those days. So that I want to say the temperature or the climate was set.
That's right, it was.
In
It was.
Australia.
And our government here is weak, woke, and tolerant. So except they choose what they like to tolerate. Our prime minister, he said he did not mention Islam at all after their attack. He said right-wing extremist. And he instead of blaming his immigration policies and the Islamic radicals that are here, he said right-wing extremists, and he starts to blame the guns instead. He's blaming the guns rather than the people that hold the gun. In fact, if we had guns here in Australia, less people would have died from that attack. I don't know if you know the details of the facts of that attack, but for 20 minutes straight, these 2 guys, his father and his son, they were shooting at the Jewish community. And guess what? They took our arms. In Australia, in the 90s, they took everybody's guns. You're not allowed to have a gun. But the terrorist is allowed to. They're going to come attack you. You can't defend yourself. For 20 minutes straight, they were killing people. Nobody could defend themselves.
So the Bondi Beach began as a Hanukkah celebration with the Chabad group and the rabbi leading it.
And for you guys that don't know, Bondi is it's a really nice area. I always love going there on my day off. But it is it's one of the most Jewish areas in Australia. So Bondi, everyone knows, if you want to find Jews, go to Bondi. This is the area in Australia, and it's not an accident they went there and killed people there.
And then the news today came out that they had to go and arrest 4 more individuals on their way to Bondi Beach again.
Yeah. And these individuals are actually about 5 minutes from where I live. So you're seeing what's happening to Australia. They're in Liverpool, which is close to where I live. And it's happening. It's near us. And these are the people that our government let in. These are people that our government is allowing into our nation. And when they do their radical stuff, they say kill the Jews, gas the Jews, and they're having even in their own mosques, Islamic preachers that are calling. They say globalize the intifada, wage jihad. Do they know what jihad is? We know what jihad is. Muhammad did it. It's going out and killing the infidel. Who is the infidel? That's you, me, Jews, Christians, anyone who does not believe in Muhammad and Allah, who is not a Muslim. They are allowed, and actually not just allowed, they're commanded by their book to go out, kill you, murder you, rape you, torture you, and take your money, take your wealth, until you testify that Muhammad is God's prophet, or you just get killed. So this is jihad. And in the West, we have gay, weak, soy, LGBTQ people that are weak, and they're getting destroyed by Islam.
Do you see a change at all in the community that surrounds you with what happened after, let's say, post Bondi Beach, what happened there?
I thank God, we lead a church here in Sydney, Australia, that we've always spoken about this. We have warned Australia about Islam. We've been doing that for years. We've been preaching about it. And we have been preaching to the West and warning them about Islam, because we come from a Muslim country. We know what Islam is. We know what Islam does. And from our community, you're seeing a little bit. Let me put it this way: Australians, a lot of them are godless, and because they hate God, they hate Christ, and because they hate Christ, they don't have discernment, and they, instead of worshiping God, a lot of them worship the government, and whatever the government says, they follow. So you're seeing this this civil war type of thing happening, where you got the work side, where they're like, Islam is a religion of peace. It's not Islam's fault. It's just a couple of radicals, a couple of bad apples. But no. Just quick fact, 98% of all terrorist attacks are done by Muslims. 2% are the rest of the other religions. So if you don't see the difference, if you don't see a common denominator, if you can't see the problem, you're stupid, have a low IQ, or you're ignorant. You're willfully being ignorant. And Islam is a religion of peace is the biggest joke I've ever heard. It's the exact opposite.
Well, I have a lot of respect for you and your family. You've paid a high price, and you continue to speak the truth in love. But the truth is the truth. You can't change it.
That's right. And many Christians, they comment on my stuff and they say, you're not loving Christianity, you're supposed to love people. I'm like, yeah, Jesus loves people, but Jesus hates sin. And when you see sin, you have to call it out. And I love what Dietrich Bonhoeffer said during Nazi Germany. He said he's one of the few Christian pastors that spoke out against Hitler. You would know him, and he actually ended up getting killed by Hitler for what he spoke. He said that silence in the face of evil is a self-evil. See, while during Hitler, a lot of the Holocaust has been happening. Jews were getting killed by Hitler. A lot of churches remain silent. A lot of Christians remain silent in the face of that. They said, let's just be silent. Let's not get involved. Let's not get controversial. Let's not get in trouble with the government. And that's evil. And So there is a sin of omission and the sin of commission. And in the church today, we have this. A lot of them are doing the sin of commission. A sin of omission is when you fail to do what you're supposed to do. So there is a sin that you commit and the sin that you omit, where you don't do what you're supposed to do. And across the church, there is a sin of omission. Churches are not doing what they are called to do. We are called to be the light of the world. We're supposed to be the moral compass of the world, but we're too scared, we're too cowardly to speak the truth because we care about what people will think of us. We care about people calling us hateful, and we care about the world hating us. But Jesus, he loved the sinner, but he hated the sin. So Islam is a demonic idea, and just because we love Muslims, I love Muslims, my prayer is that every Muslim would know Christ. I love Muslims. I have a passion for saving them, but that will not stop me of calling out the demon that they worship. Just because you love a person, it doesn't mean you tolerate the demon that is possessed within them. Because let's be honest, these demonic attacks, these people, they're possessed by demons. No person will go out and shoot people like that unless they're possessed by a demon. And just because I love Muslims doesn't mean I'm not going to call out the demon. I will cast out the demon. Jesus casted out and rebuked demons, and he called out evil. So you have Christians today that are weak and woke and soft and basically gay, that they're not calling out evil. And they're the problem, because silence in the face of evil is itself evil.
What is the vision that you have for your city? I mean, I think everything that you're sharing, it's so important for the church to really grab hold of, that it's time to stop remaining silent. You can speak the truth in love. I know
that's right.
But love doesn't mean you accept the sin of others. Yeshua,
that's right.
This is his name in Hebrew, as you know.
Yeah.
He didn't stop from driving out the money changers because they were breaking his father's word about how you're supposed to operate business, and they were doing it in his temple in a way which was an abomination. And so I get so tired of hearing, oh, if you just love everybody. Well, loving someone to what? There has to be accountability. It's almost like there's no laws, there's no accountability, there's no nothing. Just live however you want, and it's not going that very well right now, is it?
That's right. And this is a false gospel. We've been preaching in America, we've been preaching in Australia, and this is not the gospel. This is not the gospel. The gospel is to teach people the truth. Jesus' last words, go out into all the world, make disciples of all nations, baptizing in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And the key part here is teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. So part of the Great Commission wasn't go out and love everyone. It was go out teaching them to obey everything that has commanded you. That includes everything in the Bible. That includes homosexuality is a sin. That includes murder is wrong. And what's happening in churches, they're abandoning the truth for so-called love, which is not really love. It's actually insecurity and selfishness, because you don't want the world to hate you and you care about how you look. So you're masquerading it under love and tolerance, but you're actually selfish and you're a coward. And true love is telling people not what they want to hear. True love is telling people what they need to hear, and they need to hear the truth.
So what's your vision for your city? What is it that you would love to see as this message is going out?
We have, as Echo Church, we have a vision not just for our city. We have a vision for all the world. We're actually about to plant Echo Church next year. We're planning to plant Echo Church in Florida. We're coming to the U.S. We're there to fight the culture war. We're there to make disciples of all nations, and we're there to speak the truth. And we want to save the Western civilizations. We want the West to go back to Christ. We want America to turn back to Jesus. We want Australia to turn back to Jesus. We want Europe, London, and we want all the world to turn back to Jesus. Because we know that this is not a political problem. This is deeply a spiritual problem. And once you fix a spiritual problem, the rest will follow.
That's a really good message. Is there a way that everybody can connect with you? What's the best way? Is it through social media?
That's right. That's right. You can follow me on social media, X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever platform you have, John Sedra. You can follow me on that.
We'll put it in the description so everybody can find it pretty easily. But lastly, is there something, what can we be praying for you and agreeing?
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, we as we said, we're here to fight. I believe that God brought us from Egypt not to just come here and enjoy the blessing of the West, but to actually contribute to it and to fight the danger and the threat that is coming against the West. And a lot of people saying that threat is Israel and the Jews. I'm like, no, it's not. That threat is Islam. I have never seen a Jew go and blow up something and say Yahweh Akbar. It's always a Muslim, and it's always Allahu Akbar. If you hear Allahu Akbar anywhere, run, because nothing ever good happens after that. But when you hear the name of Jesus, good things happen. People are usually healed, people are saved. But when you hear the name of Allah, it's always people are raped, killed, and massacred. So yeah, we're here to fight the culture war in the West, in Australia, in America, and we're not going to be quiet. We're not going to be silent. And that's because Jesus is the only hope to save America, to save Australia. The church is the only hope. And though the church is the problem for not speaking and being too tolerant towards evil and sin, this answer is also the church by speaking up against evil and saving the nation. It's our responsibility as Christians and as a church. It is not anyone's responsibility. I'm not sitting here blaming the Muslims for coming here to invade. That's just what they do. My issue is Christians and churches allowing that, tolerating that, because the fact is they wouldn't be here if we didn't tolerate it and allow it. And that evil wouldn't happen if we didn't speak against it.
Yep, that's a very good point. It goes back to what we were sharing earlier about remaining silent and not doing what God has called us to. Now, I know that has been taken to in extremes in the past, but this is a new day, a new age that we've stepped into. And I believe that we're going to see the biggest clash. We're going to see, I like how my dad actually worded this. It's the battle of the kings, but there's only one king, right?
That's right, Jesus.
It's the smaller one that's trying to cause all the ruckus, the chaos, and destruction. And look, our Bible tells us that the enemy comes to what? Steal,
That's right.
kill, destroy. Why would we as believers want anything to do with a part of a culture or be near something that steals, kills, or destroys?
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
right.
It's not. It
That's
doesn't
right.
work.
That's what he does. That's what the enemy does. And like you were saying, it is a spiritual warfare. And it's a kingdom against kingdom. Kingdom of hell, kingdom of heaven. And just what churches have told you is that Christianity is a nice relationship between you and Jesus, which is it is, but it's also a war. And you have to be ready to fight because we are at war. Paul says to put on the armor of Christ. And we are at war. And as a Christian, you have to be ready to go war, take territory for the kingdom of heaven. Because right now what's happening in America, Australia, and the West is that the kingdom of darkness is taking territory in the kingdom of heaven. Churches are shutting down. They're being turned into mosques. Mosques are being built. The West is physically dying. They're having less kids. And Muslims are having more kids. So it is a spiritual warfare. And we must fight it. And you must be willing to live and die for it. Or your children will suffer the consequence. You must be courageous. You must fight for your family. You must fight for your country. You must fight for your children. And I love that verse in Joshua where God gives them the choice. He says in Deuteronomy, I have given you the choice between life and death. Choose life so that you and your children may live. And this is what we're being faced with right now. The choice between life and death. God will not force us to choose anything. God has given us the choice, and it's not in his hand, it is in our hand. God has given us a choice to choose life or death. And the truth is the choice we make today will determine what happens to our children. It will determine whether our children will live or die, whether our children will live in a free Christian Western society or whether they're going to live in an Islamic society where it's illegal for them to preach the gospel, and they'll eventually also become Muslim.
So you shared a lot of important information today with the historical aspect, your story, and I just want to say thank you so much for spending time with me. And personally, this relationship is really important because I believe that there is something so intricately connected between Egypt and Israel. And I hope one day that we're going to see the fruition, the fullness of that relationship in terms of when the Lord says when he returns, Egypt is going to be called that blessed place again. Maybe you're going to
And
go back and
Amen.
visit then.
And
Not
we're believing for revival there, turning back to Jesus.
Yeah. But I just want to say thank you so much for standing with the Jewish community. It means so much to have voices like you, your brothers, your father. You really touched my heart when we were in Israel together. I just want to brag for just a quick minute. You know, I would see your dad just sitting at a table with people that he didn't know, just Jewish guys, and just sharing his story and testimony with them, just saying, I'm an Egyptian and I'm here to love on you, and I'm a Christian, and I'm just, support, and I support you. And you and your wonderful wife are doing the same. It was just so wonderful to see that you weren't just there to look at the rocks and the trees and the beautiful sights, but you were there investing time with the people. And if more people went and visited the land of Israel that they speak so much against or for, hopefully more for than against, but we know that the age that we're in, I think that they would see an Israel that has not been depicted in the news. It's one that is true, that's kind of there. They just have to be an adventurer
That's
and
right.
have to really go and experience it for themselves. So I just want to
That's
say
right.
from the fullness of my heart, thank you to you and your family for standing with the Jewish people, standing with Israel, and speaking the truth in love.
Thank you. No, thank you. It is an honor. It is our duty. It is our responsibility. Salvation came from the Jews. God brought Jesus, David, through the Jews, and the Bible says salvation came from the Jews to the Gentiles, which is us. And it is our duty, to return the favor, to love what God loves. And we love the Jews. I pray that they will accept Jesus, they will return to Jesus. But whether they do or don't, we stand with them, and we support their right to defend themselves from, being killed. And just one more point that I wanted to add, like, if that land of Israel, if it was under Islam, we will not be allowed to go there as Christians and visit the holy sites. Let's be honest about that. If they still remain, if they're not blowed up by then. So the only way as Christians we're allowed to go visit this holy sites is because it's under Israel, not because it's under Islam. And Israel is one of the very few nations in the world where you as a Christian, actually, one more point, Israel is the only nation in the world where as a Christian, I can go on the street and preach to a person about Jesus without going to jail. In the Middle East, sorry, no, not in the world, in the Middle East, my bad. In the Middle East, my bad. So the Middle East is all Muslim. Israel is the only nation in the Middle East where as a Christian, I can go on the street, preach the gospel, and not go to jail. So as a Christian, if you don't support that, I'm not sure what type of Christian are you. And for your brothers and sisters, Christian brothers and sisters that are getting persecuted in the Middle East, for you to stand against that is just evil. I was just speaking to a Palestinian Christian when I was there, and he was telling me about, obviously couldn't take a photo with him and say his name because they will kill him. And he was telling me how much rather he would much rather live under Israel. He has to get a work visa to come in and work under Israel. And he was telling me how hard it is for Christians living in the West Bank and how much persecution they face. The Christian in the West, they need to listen to Christians in the Middle East that are actually going through the persecution. And because it's true, it's happening. And one more thing, Israel and the U.S. are the only nations that you can worship in the house of the president. That would never happen in Australia. The prime minister would never let anyone worship in their house. Here in Australia, it would never happen in Europe. The only two places are Israel and America, where you can have worship in the residence of the president. You were there when we worshiped there, and we sang the blessing.
Yeah, and there's family. We say we're the family, the body of Messiah, and we're all over in Nigeria. The Christians, the Iraqis, they experienced horrific uh, atrocities against that community. I mean, we could go on and on and on. But the
Yeah,
truth of the matter is, are we as a church actually going to stick with each other?
that's right.
Or are we going to just sell each other out because it doesn't benefit us in the moment? But I digress because otherwise we'd be sharing.
Yeah, we could go on for hours, but we'll finish it another time.
But it's
Thanks
so
for
good.
having me.
And we'll have you again. This is just the beginning, the first time. So for all of you watching, please like, comment, subscribe to our channel, activate the little bell icon. It'll let you know when we are pushing out more material to our YouTube channel. I just want to thank every one of our partners who is watching this content. You're the reason that I'm able to sit here with John and have a conversation about what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on in Australia and America and the world, because you are supporting us and you're behind us in prayers, you're behind us financially, and we couldn't say thank you enough. We're doing this because you are supporting us. So thanks again. And for all of the rest of you, we just ask you, please look at the description below. I have my friends, ways that you can get in touch with them. Please, it's a great church. It's a great family. I approve of them. I want you to go and enjoy the content. It is right in your face because it's sharing the truth, but it's important because if we don't get this truth out now, then we are being complicit in the silence, and that is just as bad as being complicit in the activity going against, I believe, the kingdom of what Jesus has called us to. So have a great day, and we hope to talk to you. We'll see you very soon.